What if Bruce Lee's most brutal fight wasn't on a movie set, wasn't in a tournament, wasn't even something he ever wanted you to see? What if it happened behind a locked door in Oakland, with no cameras, no audience, and only one rule: winner takes everything? Bruce Lee is a name synonymous with discipline, philosophy, and impossible speed. His legendary status as the greatest martial artist of the 20th century is unquestioned. But there's a story he buried, a fight so violent it changed everything he believed about combat. A demonstration that was hidden in shadow for nearly 60 years because the men in that room swore they'd never speak of it. Why does this matter? Because what happened that day didn't just bruise Bruce Lee's body. It shattered his ego, and the man who walked out of that room was not the same fighter who walked in. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why this one unfilmed fight is the reason Bruce Lee became the legend we know today. It's December 1964. Bruce Lee is 24 years old. He's just opened his second martial arts school in Oakland. He's teaching Wing Chun, but with a difference. He's teaching it to anyone: black students, white students, Latino students. And the traditional Chinese martial arts community of San Francisco is furious. They send him a letter, sealed in red. Inside, a formal challenge: stop teaching outsiders or face their champion in single combat. The challenger's name: Wong Jack Man. Now here's what most people don't understand. Wong Jack Man wasn't some street fighter. He was a 25-year-old prodigy of Northern Shaolin, a fighting style with over 1,000 years of bloodline. He'd trained since the age of 7. His teachers said he was the most gifted student they'd ever seen. He could split bricks with his palm. He could hold a horse stance for over an hour. And he had something Bruce didn't have yet: formal lineage, generations of masters standing behind him. So when Bruce read that letter, he didn't laugh. He didn't dismiss it. He looked at his wife Linda, 8 months pregnant at the time, and he said 3 words: I have to. The rules were brutal: no referee, no time limit, no safety equipment. The fight would only end one way: when one man could not continue. Wong Jack Man arrived with 5 witnesses. Bruce brought Linda, his student Yimm Lee, and one other man whose name has never been confirmed. They met inside the Oakland school. The doors were bolted shut, the shades were drawn, and then it began. Bruce attacked first. He attacked with everything: straight blast punches, that signature Wing Chun chain that fires 6, 7, 8 strikes in a single second. Wong Jack Man backed up. He kept backing up. Bruce chased him around the room. According to Linda Lee's own written account, Bruce was relentless. He was vicious. He was nothing like the philosopher the world would later come to know. For 3 full minutes, Bruce hunted Wong Jack Man across that floor. He took him down. He pinned him. And when Wong finally said the words, "I give up," Bruce stood over him, gasping, soaked in sweat, his chest heaving so violently he could barely speak. He had won. Now before I tell you what happened next, because this is where the story turns, if you're as obsessed with the real Bruce Lee as I am, the actual man behind the myth, hit subscribe. I'm digging into the stories Hollywood never wanted you to hear. Back to that locked room. Bruce Lee won that fight. So why, that same night, did he sit on the floor of his apartment and cry? Here's what nobody understood at the time. Bruce had trained his entire life for one thing: to be the fastest, most efficient striker in the world. Wing Chun was supposed to end a fight in seconds. 3 punches. Maybe 4. That's the promise of the style. But against Wong Jack Man, a man Bruce was clearly more skilled than. It took him over 3 minutes. 3 minutes. He was so exhausted afterward he could barely stand. His punches by the end had lost their power. His footwork had collapsed. Bruce sat with Linda that night and said something she would never forget. He said, and I quote her memoir directly, "I should have finished him in seconds. There is something deeply wrong with what I have been taught." That moment, that single sentence, is the moment Bruce Lee stopped being a Wing Chun practitioner and started becoming Bruce Lee. For decades, almost nobody outside Bruce's inner circle knew this fight had happened. Bruce never spoke about it publicly. Linda Lee mentioned it briefly in 1975. Yimm Lee took the details to his grave in 1972. Wong Jack Man? He stayed silent for nearly 40 years. Then, in 2005, finally, he agreed to one interview with a small Chinese-language magazine. And in that interview, he said something that contradicted Bruce's version completely. He said the fight was not a brutal beatdown. He said it was, in his words, a draw. He said Bruce never pinned him. He said they were separated by witnesses. So who's telling the truth, Linda Lee or Wong Jack Man? Here's the answer most people miss. It doesn't matter. Because what Bruce believed happened is what reshaped martial arts. He walked out of that room convinced his style had failed him. And that conviction, right or wrong, is what gave birth to everything that came next. Within weeks of that fight, Bruce Lee threw out his Wing Chun lineage. He started training like a Western boxer. He added fencing footwork. He stole grappling from judo. He studied film of Muhammad Ali, frame by frame, in reverse, so he could understand Ali's rhythm from a southpaw's perspective. 2 years later, he had built something brand new. A formless, adaptive system designed to end real fights in seconds, not minutes. He called it Jeet Kune Do, the way of the intercepting fist. And every modern combat system you've ever heard of, MMA, Krav Maga, the close quarters combat systems taught to Navy SEALs, every single one of them owes a piece of its DNA to what Bruce Lee learned in a locked room in Oakland. He didn't lose that fight, but he didn't win it either. He survived it, and in surviving it, he was reborn. If this story changed how you see Bruce Lee, hit that like button. It genuinely helps small channels like this one survive. And if you want the next piece of the puzzle, I just uploaded a video on the one technique Bruce invented after this fight that he refused to teach to anyone outside his inner circle. It's right there on screen. Click it. I'll see you in the next one.